Hi, I'm Corey Walmsley. I'm CEO of Aurora Borealis Publishing. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, your intuition and your book. You've probably heard some people say that they download their books or that they channel their books. And you might think, wow, that's for people who are super woo-woo. Maybe they're witches, maybe they're conjurers, that kind of thing. I can assure you that that is not always the case. I am actually friends with people and have clients who have channeled their books, and the books are very grounded, real, and wonderful pieces. So put that aside. We're going to talk about you, just a regular person, using your intuition. We use our intuition every day. It's our gut, whatever it is you want to call it. Always trust that, especially when you're working on a creative project like your book. No matter how creative you think it is or isn't, your book is a creative project. When you need to trust your intuition, you will find yourself often second guessing it, because a lot of times we feel like we have to trust what other people are telling us that we need to do. One of the first things that I do with my coaching clients is sit down and map out a book. We create a book map. It makes it super easy for them to know what they need to do every time they sit down at their desk, because nothing is worse than staring at a blank page or a blinking cursor and just going, I don't have any idea what I'm supposed to write, and I have to do 20,000 or 30,000 words. That is a terrible feeling. And to get around that, we do the book map. But when you create a book map or a book outline or whatever you want to call it, when you create that for yourself, you're not committing to it. You don't have to. It is flexible. You need to be flexible with it, because sometimes you start out and you think, okay, this book is going to be this. This is who it's for. This is what it's all about. And you might get into it and realize, chapter 3 doesn't align with my vision anymore. I really feel inspired to write about this. At that point, put it aside. Put aside chapter 3. You don't need to write it today. That's because you don't have to write your book linearly either. You should trust your intuition on this. What feels aligned to write today? What do I feel most drawn to? Or, if you don't want to use that kind of language, what am I excited about? What's lighting me up? What has been in my world lately that I feel really called to talk about? Those are the things that you need to be writing about, because you want to write from an empowered energy. You want to write from a standpoint of excitement and joy. And I know some of our stories are not exciting and joyful. I get that. But it's that feeling you get inside. We're going to trust it. The feeling you get inside that says, this is where I need to go today. So if you're working through your book and you get to that chapter 3 and you say, this isn't where I need to go today, move on. Chapter 4, maybe that's what lights you up. If you get all the way to the end of your book and you still aren't lit up about that chapter 3, ask yourself some questions. Ask, does this align with the book anymore? Does this fit with my audience? Does it still fit with my purpose? Sometimes as we're working on something, things change, and we have to be flexible to work with what we're working on. That way we end up with the product that we actually want. If you get clear through your book and you say, oh God, I have to go back and write chapter 3, and you force yourself to write chapter 3 is not necessarily going to have the same tone as the rest of the book. Now, people like me who are used to mimicking tone, I've been a copywriter for a long time. I was a professional writer before I started my own business. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm used to mimicking tone. There's still going to be something soulless about it. If I'm mimicking tone, I'm holding people out like this, and I'm not letting them get close to me. I'm not letting them in and seeing what the heart is. And I'm speaking from this like, oh, I'm mimicking this person's tone because I have to do it sort of place. And even if it isn't totally obvious, there's something really weird about it. It's like reading text that's been written by a chatbot. There's just something missing, there's that heart that's not there. You want that in your writing. So make sure when you are working on your book, you're trusting your intuition. Don't write stuff that doesn't feel aligned. Don't work in a chapter if it doesn't feel aligned. Throw that chapter out if you get clear to the end and you're like, still not aligned. And this is one of the other reasons why I tell people to wait until they've gotten clear through the book, or at least most of the way through the book, and then go back and do your introduction. A lot of people will sit down and say, hey, I know exactly what this book is going to be about. I'm going to bang out that introduction because it's really easy. It's a lot of my story. You know, I already have a pattern for it. I give my authors a pattern for their introductions. It makes it easy. If you get all the way through the first 3 chapters and you go, that doesn't align, then you get to go back and rewrite the introduction, because when you have a whole book, every piece needs to work together. You're telling a story, or you're, giving instruction, or, whatever it is, it all needs to sound like it's coming from the same place in here. If it's coming from out here, if it's coming from in here, we can do that, but it's not going to connect with the reader. So basically, trust your intuition. Don't commit yourself wholly to your outline, and be flexible. If you would like to talk to me about your book, please send me a message over on AuroraCorrialisPublishing.com on our contacts page.